Hello, welcome to Mont Park Model Railway. In this video, we build a track cleaning wagon. I periodically clean the track at Mont Park every couple of weeks. Initially, I used a track cleaning rubber, which are great at removing stub and grime, however rarely necessary for routine cleaning. More recently, I've been using a cloth wrapped around the track rubber, which is reasonably effective. Both these manual methods aren't very useful for cleaning inside tunnel sections. The plan is to build a track cleaning wagon that can be pulled or pushed around the whole layout. Had been looking for a longer wheelbase wagon, but decided to use whatever I could find laying around. A quick rummage through the old unused rolling stock found a couple of candidates: a tanker, guards van and a mineral wagon. The wheelbases were similar at 50 to 60 millimeters. The tanker had a longer wheelbase, however not so easy to add the mechanism. Decided to use the open mineral wagon at 55 millimeter wheelbase, which should provide more straightforward access. This simple diagram shows what is proposed to be built. It is basically a plate suspended by two bolts, which is lightly sprung loaded. The concept is to attach the cleaning material to the plate using double-sided tape. The open wagon also allows for easy adding or removal of ballast weight should it be required. The first task was to remove the existing metal ballast weight from the wagon. Otherwise, it would be necessary to drill through the weight, which would be less than ideal. Next is to create the plate that will fit between the wheels and not be too wide. If it is too wide, it may hit track objects, especially station platforms. Decided to make the plate using 6 millimeter thick MDF. Need to ensure the width of the plate does not protrude wider than the wagon chassis itself. This is to ensure it will have clearance for station platforms. I cut the plate so it fits inside the wagon. This ensures it is narrower than the existing wagon. This also enables drilling the holes for the bolts through the plate and the wagon in one go, which ensures the hole alignments are consistent. With the basic plate cut, it now requires some modification of the wagon underframe to provide space for the plate. With the frame modified, we can now press on with the assembly. First is to add the bolts through the plate and up into the wagon body. The only bolts I had available were mushroom head, which is partially why I needed the 6 millimeter MDF was required, so they could be recessed into the MDF. The plate needed a little bit more modification to fit between the wheel flanges. The bolts needed to be long enough to pass through the plate, through the underframe and into the wagon. They also needed to have the length to allow for movement. 25 millimeters should suffice. Adjusting the bolts and plate height took a little trial and error. First, it needs to be able to contact with the track, allowing a millimeter or so to enable the plate to float on the track. The next activity was to estimate the required weighting of the wagon. It needed to be heavy enough to ensure the wheels and the cleaning pad would have contact with the track. It is also that it's not too heavy for the loco to move. The wagon started at 39 grams, minus its own ballast, leaving it at 26 grams. To help calculate a reasonable weight the locos to pull, I started with a standard LNER teak coach, which is around 131 grams, and at Mont Park these are normally in a rake of 5, so a total of 655 grams. I then considered the heavier Pullman coaches which are around 161 grams, also a rake of 5 being at around 805 grams. The assembled wagon comes in at around 34 grams. So I added some metal ballast for the total weighted wagon to come in at 98 grams. A brief hand running of the wagon along the track on Mont Park showed signs of some dirt already. Now to add the balsa wood cleaning pad, where I was proposing to use 2mm thick balsa wood. First apply the ultra-thin double-sided tape to the plate. Then stick a 30mm square of the 2mm balsa wood to the double-sided tape. The last task is to add the spring between the plate and the wagon frame. Now it's about ready to run, or at least a test run anyway. A testing of the spring loading without the ballast weight, which may need a little bit of trial and error. A short wagon pull test. What can happen if the ballast load is not secure in the wagon and moves while rounding a bend? It can result in a derailment of the wagon up onto its side. Oops! Have now reseated the ballast weight to be more central and less likely to move from side to side. The result of the first run around the layout, which I would call a success, picking up quite a bit of dirt. However, did run into an issue while running around through Litchfield by striking an uncoupling ramp, which had resulted in pulling the coupling from the back of the tender. Oops. That is the end of this video, and thank you for watching. Bye.